30 minutes to talk about the politics of the world. And currently, of course, Tanzania is on the limelight. But away from that, we have Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire. Almost similar situations. What's happening, guys? So we woke up today to see Tanzania in flames, with streets full of young people demanding, or rather challenging the system. Do you think the problem is the youth, or the problem is the leaders in position? Because Suluhu has actually frustrated Tunduli and also the other strong opposition in a manner that the elections have been a sham. Yeah, if on the streets, even the people from Tanzania, some of them are in hiding currently, and they have shared the aspect of so many abductions that happened in Tanzania currently this year alone. When you look at Suluhu, she has been a dictatorial leader who has been there to talk about development, but she's not listening to the voice of the people. Because what matters in a country is what are the people saying, not what you as the leader is saying. You may frustrate them and become the leader, but you are not the best. You're not going to shift the goal and make the country better. You know, I remember the times of Julius Nyerere, and then there was Gigwete. And during those times, we never heard or saw what has happened in Tanzania. So Tanzania has ultimately turned into what Kenya was the other day. And Suluhu was blaming Kenyan young people for that. And I don't know whether Andreas Blucher, this is the last time you see me. Why? People, you still have a long life ahead of you, so you cannot say it's the last time I'm seeing you. Okay? Keep living, keep living. Even when situations are stressful, pray, breathe, and live. Some of us have gone through very terrible moments. We did not expect we would be alive today, but we are, because you take a breath, you listen to people, you also decide to survive. You know, sometimes we just decide to survive. No, cancer is not a death sentence. I can tell you for sure. I've had friends who've had that problem, and they have not died. Okay, Andra Ola, welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for showing up here. Welcome. Yeah, so let's pray for Andrea Blucher, because we know that cancer is not a death sentence. And even though it can be sorted, and the network is messing up big time. I don't know, is messing up big time. I don't know, for whatever reason. The network issue. I don't know why it decided to miss. But welcome, guys. You are coming big time, and I know you'll be coming back. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm doing this video very late because I've been absent on this platform for quite a while, and I feel very guilty that I'm not doing content so much on Life Saga. But luckily, at least edutainment for us has been, I've got the right watch hours, so I'm going to fight to get the pin and move on. It has been a real battle on edutainment for us. I started that channel long ago, but I was frustrated in between, and I had to really push it hard. If I was faint-hearted, I would have given up. Actually, I know God just had to stand for me and give me that strength, because I've been using bundles all through without earning anything on that channel for the longest time possible. But now at least I have the watch hour complete, and I'm going to push for the next processes, and I'm going to make sure that the next 1 month my videos will be consistent and with the highest watch hours or views. So please, good people, keep watching, keep supporting me. And of course, on Life Saga TV, what I want to focus more is political. But I've found myself also doing some political videos on edutainment for us, because sometimes I just have to balance things here and there. depending on reading the situations, you realize that no, I just have to, we call it being flexible. Yeah. So thank you so much, Andrea Blucher and Andrea Ola. May God actually keep you, because some situations are devastating, but we pray for the best. Andrea Ola, I'm from Kenya, as I've said, but today I'm not analyzing Kenyan situation. I'm going into Tanzania, Cameroon, and Cote d'Ivoire, because I keep watching the world news, and it's so sad that currently, if you look at the situation in Africa, I don't know what's happening. Recently, at least, we had a good change in Ghana. We had another good change in Malawi and Seychelles. But when you look at Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, and Tanzania situation, it seems that dictatorship is here to stay. And some of these leaders actually want to be dynasties by force, by fire. Because when you realize that young people are going to the streets and burning and destroying things, and you are still oppressing the opposition, what would be your interest? Now, when you look at Tanzania, for example, Tunduli, who was the strong opposition, was frustrated and taken to prison for treason charges that he has denied, but he has long been banned from vying. And even some of his party members are currently in exile because they know that they cannot survive in Tanzania. We also saw the police commissioner announcing that nobody should be on media sensitizing about anything. So I looked at the news in Tanzania, and of course, some of the pictures or videos that are being shown by other medias like Al Jazeera and Citizen Kenya, they are not part of the news that can be shown in Tanzania. Yeah. We have protesters on the streets, we have young people on the streets, and it's quite devastating that even the police had to shoot tear gas to some of them and disperse them and all that. From a report, also abduction that have happened in Tanzania this year are just too much. Now, clearly seeing some of the leaders, you remember the time that one of the Kenyan bloggers, who is also, we could say, an activist, went to Tanzania. Most of the MPs made that a topic, and they began to talk in parliament saying that Kenya has bad manners, and therefore they are trying to transport the bad manners to Tanzania, and they don't want Kenyans to do so. They had also to put bans on so many other businesses, and it was really frustrating because I looked at it and I was like, I've lived at the border. I've lived at the border of Tanzania, that is Taita Taveta, and I understand what it means by when you place such bans, it creates a lot of conflicts between one country and the other. But Samia Suluhu does not give a damn about it. And I think there's a time when Kenya was very peaceful with Tanzania during the time of Kigwete, Nyerere, and even before, though at some point the predecessor, whoever Samia took from, was a bit of hostile with Kenya with the things to do with the Vifaranga. But it has become just too much. Now, looking at the elections and the fracas, let me just see whether I'll show some video, though I don't want to focus so much on videos in this reaction. I just want it to flow for 30 minutes, then I call it a day. I have 20 minutes ahead of me. So let me just check whether I'll show some things and then come to an end. So, of course, Tanzania had a lot of chaos today, and I think you can watch this and see. What is this?
Police have responded with tear gas, live ammunition, and military patrols in urban centers. Clashes erupted near the graveside of Chadema's founding father as party loyalists defied a heavy security cordon. At the Sirari's Bania border with Kenya, hundreds protested the barring of opposition leaders, triggering a standoff with the migration officers. a.m. local time today, Tanzania vanished from the digital world. Net blocks confirmed a near total internet blackout. Mobile data, fixed lines, and social media platforms throttled in a move eerily reminiscent of a dictator's playbooks across the continent. Now, the timing was no coincidence. With hashtags like Suluhu must go surging regionally, the regime quickly pulled the plug to choke the oxygen of any other Tanzanian protesting on the digital platforms. Across the border in Kenya, Samia Suluhu is no longer the reformist who once charmed East African summits. She is trending as Idi Amin Mama, a brutal rebrand that likens her crackdowns to Uganda's infamous dictator Idi Amin Dada. The comparison stings because opposition leaders like Tundu Lissu remains behind bars on treason charges. Chadema was disqualified on a technicality, and the presidential ballot features competitors so obscure they have never held a rally or issued a manifesto before.
It's so funny that Tanzania could... So Suluhu had to go around announcing that people should go vote, and yet places where Chadema, Tunduli, and other people have been frustrated. So most people who come from Chadema's area, Tunduli's area, and opposition were ready to boycott from elections and then go to the streets and create chaos. So of course, Suluhu will automatically come out as the winning president, but the president for who? Is it only for the people who support her or everybody else? But this is the state of Africa, and the trend is picking up in most of the countries, including Uganda, Tanzania, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire. If you remember very well, some days before, we were having a situationship in Cote d'Ivoire. And if I may just play some clips, before I play them, maybe let me talk about what happened in Cote d'Ivoire. In Cote d'Ivoire, it happened that during election, the president, of course, also did the same, okay? Yeah. So the president ensured that he suffocated the opposition members, and after that, he went ahead to vie, and people boycotted the elections. But at the end of the day, he took over. That is Ochara. Let's just check on Cote d'Ivoire. All right, so back to Cote d'Ivoire. I want us to check on some few things in the few days. So Ouattara has become the third-term president, but the reason as to why this happened is he frustrated the opposition again.
Results released by the Independent Electoral Commission show him taking nearly 90% of the vote, a commanding lead over his four challengers.
Dans l'ensemble, le scrutin s'est déroulé.
Mr. Alassane Ouattara obtained 3,759,030 votes, or 89.77% of the votes cast. Mrs. Hive Simone Bagbo, 101,238 votes, or 2.42% of the votes cast. Mrs. Lago Adjoa Henriette, 48,261 votes, or 1.15% of the votes cast.
So, of course, Ouattara has become the president of Cote d'Ivoire, but the process was full of frustrations. Okay.
President Alassane Ouattara appears poised.
Alassane Ouattara.
Thank you, Melissa. Well, from the vote counting process at the polling center I am, we have a sense of what we might expect across the country, according to analysts, if their prediction is correct. Inside this polling unit I am, President Alassane Ouattara, picked almost all the votes. However, the turnout was very low. I am in Yokubong, a popular base for opposition parties, the two main opposition parties with no presidential candidates in this race. And it appeared that their supporters decided to boycott the election. So the turnout in this area it was quite low, and it has reflected on the outcome of the numbers of the votes that were cast.
So when citizens boycott from elections, it's not like they're helping their individuals actually win. They're just messing up, because what happens is that whoever they don't want is voted in. Okay. Now, the situation of Cote d'Ivoire is quite a sad one, because Ouattara, many people didn't want him. But at the same time, the opposition leader actually was not supported strongly. And at the end of the day, Ouattara has won because people boycotted to go and vote. And this is disillusionment. When disillusionment leads a country, people don't understand that you are indirectly voting in whoever you don't want. You cannot have the incumbent moving out when you've not gone to vote. But that is the situation that happens when people are frustrated and they think that the government will take the day regardless. And now, the situation of Cote d'Ivoire reminds me of something that happened in Kenya. I don't know whether it was 2007 or 2012. It happened that people boycotted to go for a voting process, and in the process, yeah, it's a sad situation in Africa, because what it does is to announce disillusionment and give a voice to, I don't know, to who, because at the end of the day, if all citizens are not partisans in voting, then what is happening in that country? All right. So if we look at Cameroon also, just in few days, we had Paul Biya announcing himself as having won in elections. And of course, let's just look at some news right here.
Cameroon President Paul Biya has been re-elected for an 8th term that could keep him in office up until he's 100 years old. This is according to the official results announced by the Central Constitutional Council. Biya, who is 92 years old, took office in 1982 and has held a tight grip on power ever since then, doing away with the presidential term limit in 2008 and winning re-election by comfortable margins. Let's bring in SABC News specialist correspondent Sophie Mokoena, who's standing by with the latest details. A very good afternoon to you, Ms. Sophie. We are looking at a very heavily disputed election here. In the midst of all of that, the world's oldest head of state has done it again.
Well, clearly those elections were quite controversial. We know that the opposition in that country is not happy, and they were questioning the processes, but including counting in particular. We saw the opposition leader indicating that according to their own information, he was leading, but we realized and saw later last week when there was announcements made by security cluster in terms of trying to clamp down on protest or dissenting voice in terms of what was coming out as the results were trickling in, taking a grip of the situation. And we saw even yesterday. And therefore, clearly these elections are very controversial. I mean, you pointed out that he is currently 92 years old and he might be in office until he's 100 years. And therefore, that speaks to, it can't be that there are no competent people in that country who can run the country. I mean, so many years in office. And when you look at what's happening on the ground in Cameroon, poverty, the country is divided literally into two parts. He spends most of the time in Switzerland. In fact, he's running that country remotely. He's always in Europe for medical attention. And he has made Europe his second home. And therefore, who is actually running Cameroon? But you know, with the removal or people fighting colonialism, there was hope that Africa will do things right. But unfortunately, you still have countries such as Cameroon, where the issue of democracy is in question.
With his election victories having been marred by allegations of vote rigging,
yeah, so clearly when you look at that report from Cameroon, and if you've been watching news from the time of announcing interest in the process of election and up to today, there is a lot of controversy revolving around Paul Biya. For a president to do away with term limits and keep running for a position, yet he does not serve his country, as you've clearly heard. Cameroon has had a moment of no progress at all because the president always runs on and off to Switzerland and that is UK and US for health purposes. At that age, obviously, he would always be attending to his health. And what interest does he have in the country that makes him go vie and vie and vie? Anyway, so people had to go to the streets again, and this is a third country I'm mentioning here. Remember that we've been from Tanzania, we have been in Cote d'Ivoire, and now Tanzania. Look at this.
Another day of angry protests and tension in Douala in Cameroon. The country had awaited the results of the presidential election that took place 2 weeks ago with bated breath. But when the results announced an 8th mandate for President Paul Biya, the city, like many others, erupted into protests. Young people in Douala barricaded all the main streets of the city, and fires could be seen breaking out on key streets of the economic capital of Cameroon. Many inhabitants, like Max, have badly received the announcement of the election results by the Constitutional Council. I'm sick of it. I don't work, and I can't even look after my grandsons, who I have at home. I am suffering so much. So much. Paul Biya needs to stop. I was crushed when I heard the news about the results. It just crushed me. I will be honest with you, it was so shocking to me. Pillaging, destruction of the public space, and live bullets marked the afternoon on Monday, leading to the entire city being paralyzed. Paul Biya was re-elected with a score of 53%. The decision has been denounced by opposition candidate Chioma, who called once more for mass protests on Monday.
So that is Africa for you. That is Africa for you, and it really breaks our hearts that Africa is turning into one of the places where if someone wants to be a leader forever, they will make it, because they will simply have to make sure that they go through maybe a shortcut or whichever other way to get to power. They will also frustrate the opposition. They will make sure that they use the police or army on the streets, and however much the citizens will protest, these people will have their way. So guys, this was just a short video for today. I wanted to reach 30 minutes, but I've reached 23 minutes. Bye bye. Let's meet tomorrow for more videos. Thank you.